Tim Petrowich here for Dateline Marion, and our guest again this week is Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And last week the Wildcats evened their record at 2-2, a 35-32 win over Cahokia on the road, and it turned out to be kind of one of those typical Marion Cahokia games, didn't it?
It did, exactly like we thought, right? Down to the wire, wild scoring, don't know who's going to win. Momentum changed like 6 times during the game. I mean, I can't tell you in the years I've been here since 2002 how many games have been like that. I mean, we've only had 1 or 2 that were not like that. It's just crazy. It's like it's kind of like, and we had the same situation with Mattoon every year.
Yeah.
Our Mattoon and Cahokia games are always wild.
Now this actually started on Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Had the situation with the verdict in St. Louis, which would be totally unrelated to football, but some civil unrest in the St. Louis area, and I guess officials got together and felt like maybe it wasn't a good idea to play Friday night so close to the event.
Yeah, we got a phone call from Cahokia High School just informing us of the situation, knowing that we may not be as close to St. Louis news information as they are, of course, and I didn't know anything about the case or the verdict, but they just thought we need to be aware because there was some unrest in the St. Louis and Metro St. Louis, East St. Louis area. So we made a decision, both schools. We tried to find maybe another location, a more neutral site, kind of further away, and it just didn't seem like it was going to work. And so we settled on Saturday afternoon instead. So and it worked out fine.
Yeah, credit to the officials at Cahokia because there was no issue whatsoever there at the high school. It was just like a regular Saturday afternoon football game.
It was all handled very well, and we appreciate their notification of us, letting us know that we don't think there's going to be, but just so you know that it could be an issue or something. And I think they really did a nice job of handling it the way they did, and everything was fine. We had a great ball game against 2 good teams. I have a lot of respect for the kids that play there and how hard they play every time we play them, regardless of record. And we've never had an incident with their kids and all those hard-fought games. And sometimes, you know, we have opponents that there's a little tension, and sometimes there's extracurricular, but with other opponents we have, but Cahokia kids have always kept it on the field, and whether it was Coach Galladay or Coach Clay, we've always had good battles with them, and I think they're hard-fought games played on the field. It's been great.
And you mentioned that there were a couple of things in the game Saturday with Cahokia, a couple of behavior penalties and things like that, but none of it was directed towards Marion at all.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, you're right. And that's the kind of football that you love as a coach. Both teams are hard-fought, playing well, and not playing perfect, but playing well and competitive and leaving it on the field. And I actually had a chance to speak to some of their varsity players at the lower level game here, and it was an interesting, conversation about the game and how hard fought it was, and a lot of mutual respect there.
I have to ask this question because I think a lot of people are in the same boat. How many people had heard of Malik Shaw before the game Saturday?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but man, he got our attention, and he hadn't really gone off on a passing frenzy like he did against us. I mean, he had a good ball game, throwing it around and scrambling and buying time and doing what he had to do, and had guys that could catch it too, and they put up some big numbers on us, but they decided early on that we were going to be pretty tough against their run game, and they became one-dimensional. And usually if you can get a team one-dimensional, that's good for you. But I kind of came back to bite us a little bit. I think their one-dimension became passing, and they did it well.
Well, and the fact that he could scramble so well was able to buy him some time to hit some open receivers.
Yeah.
A lot of those plays were plays that the play was made late in the play.
Yeah, it was. And, the scrambling does create a lot of unknowns in the game of football, and so coverages break down during a scramble situation because receivers reroute and have time to find the open lane, and he was accurate. I mean, he threw the ball on the run in a scramble situation. I think it wore our defense out trying to chase him all day. We're not super deep at the defensive line spot, so when you are rushing the passer in 97-degree weather all day long, sooner or later we got tired, and they took advantage of that.
Let's talk about the game. It was early on. It was trading scores. You got a nice blend of running and passing to start the game.
Yeah.
You know, 3 first half touchdowns, and you feel like you're in pretty good shape. And
Yeah.
the big difference was that you converted 1 point extra points, and they converted 2 point extra points.
Yeah, that's right. And they kind of got out. You know, we took the lead, with early in the game, and they came back and they scored, but got the 2 point conversion. So we played catch up. It felt like the remainder of the half to that 2 point conversion. And I was proud of the first half offensive side. I thought we did a lot of things well. I don't think we punted the first half. We had a nice drive, our first drive to go down the field, doing a lot of things to a lot of different receivers and running backs. I saw contributions from a lot of different guys this week, and we put some nice things together. And like I said, a lot of guys contributed. So offensively in the first half, we felt okay, but they had the momentum at the end of the first half, having scored late, and I think they went into halftime. Both teams were really tired. Both teams had laid a big half on the line, but they had the momentum at halftime, and that scared me.
Yeah, and we talked about that after the game. The way you came out in the third quarter, you got the ball, you went, and kind of a little mix-up on the kickoff that didn't allow a big return, so
Right.
you're pinned down at your 18-yard line.
Yeah.
And went 82 yards in 6 plays. And you mentioned the fact you don't think there was a second down ever on that drive.
No, every play was a first down. We had a 12-yard gain, a 14-yard gain, an 11-yard gain. We just chipped our way down the field with 1st and 10s and kept getting first downs. And then David broke the long run and scored. And that was one of the best drives we've had here in a long time, as far as efficiency, execution. It was fast, it was physical, it was well executed. It was a nice mixture of pass and run, and it was a good drive. We needed that. That, as I said to you in the paper, that to me that was the drive of the game, because we were in trouble at halftime. Going in and talking to my team at halftime, we were flat, we were tired, and we needed something. And then that opening kickoff, we scrambled back and get it back on the 18. So that's not where you want to start. We took it right down the field and scored.
So you score there.
Yep.
The two teams trade possessions. I think they turned it over on downs at that point, trying to go for it, get that momentum back. You stopped them. You turned it over right away on downs, kind of deep in their territory.
Yep.
You hold them and they punt, and now you're back on your own 18-yard line again, and you've had your defense out there making 2 tough stands in a row, and then one play, Caden Hilliard, 82 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah. Big play, just like the Dunlap game. It reminded me of his touchdown against Dunlap, and he breaks the long run, and we've got the momentum, but the defense has to go right back out. So I'm glad we scored. We're always trying to score, but Coach Dunning said, I would love the result, but I wish he'd have gone about 6 or 8 plays to do that, But now it was a big play, and at another big time. We were trying to get that 2-score lead that that had been evading us all day, and to give our defense a little bit of a break. That didn't happen. Defense has to go right back out and deal with Malik.
Well, but this gives an opportunity right here to talk about the fact you had a drive where you went 82 yards in 6 plays, and then you had a drive where you had an 82-yard run on the opening, and that was both in the tight offensive set.
That's true.
And that speaks because none of it was really running around to the outside. That was your running backs and your runners finding a huge hole to run through.
Yeah.
Caden's run 82 yards untouched.
Yeah, and the offensive line has really grown up for us, and I think they've gotten better. There's 3 first-time starters up there, and Jamie Gott, has really grown as a player. John Clarida only played 1 game last year before he hurt his knee at Haywood County, and then Kobe Mayfield is the other sophomore starting up there, and so we've got 3 first-year starters to go along with Pecord and Cantrell that are veterans on our line. But I think they've started to gel. They're starting to play better together. They're getting more aggressive. And Coach Skeet and Coach Dixon have done a nice job of molding those guys. And I see improvement every week.
The momentum really didn't end because you stopped them again, forced another punt, and then you drove down the field and got inside the 10-yard line and had a turnover. And that kind of swung things a little bit because then Cahokia was able to take the ball at their own 5. and they went 95 yards in about 8 plays and scored a touchdown.
We score there. It's 42-24, Marion. And that may seal the game. Instead, we turn the ball over inside the 5, and they go down and score, and they're right back in it. And now they've got the momentum again. And Cahokia really feeds off that momentum as well as any team we play. And then they seized it, and now we're having to move the ball on offense, and we got in some trouble offensively after that. I think we struggled a little bit after that. But that was a big play in the game, a big turnover that they created.
Well, after they cut the lead to 3, that was your only punt that came after that. You weren't able to move the ball, punted. Defense came up with 2 big stands, a 4th down stop. And I want to talk about that 4th down stop because a lot of people point, and we mentioned after the game as well, and a lot of media mentioned Terrell Henderson had an outstanding game, disrupting things in the backfield, and he got the sack on 4th down. Shaw tried to scramble out of trouble. Henderson caught him from behind, brought him down short of the line, or short of the first down marker. 2 plays before that we talked about, a short pass, 2 short passes over on the side where Stuart Atkinson was playing, and I think he was playing partly because of injury. First one, he breaks it up, almost picks it off. Second one, he plays it perfectly, where that play had gone 10, 12, 14 yards before. He makes a stop instantly as soon as the catch is made, 3 yards short of the first down, and that led to the 4th down play.
Yeah, good point. And, you know, Stuart has been out with a little knee issue, not a ligament or anything. It was a little infection he had in his knee, and he had to have it taken care of. And well, he bounced back and it was his first real game back full, and I felt like Stuart really came back and played a good physical game for us, made some big plays, and of course Terrell, like you said, just really put pressure on their defense or on their offensive line, their quarterback all day long from our defense, and it was just a really solid effort from a couple of guys there, and our defense battled all day long against a good offensive team, and we knew coming in they were better than their record, and I think we found that out. We found that to be true.
And then, of course, the last drive stalled on what's becoming the familiar jump ball interception by Jaden Lacey. He had 2 of them in the game Saturday, and that's something he's had several times for the Wildcats.
You tell him to be a receiver on either side of the ball, but big play to end the game. Was still in doubt when he made that interception, and we were able to go out and take a knee on 4 downs and end the ball game. But you know, Petrowich, it was nice to be able to get out of there with a win. We faced a lot of adversity last week, beginning at Friday morning at 9:30, finding out we may not have a game, and having to deal with our kids coming in. And instead of getting on a bus and going to a game, we had to practice, and then having to think about another pregame meal on Saturday morning, and you know, all the things that our parents group and our AD Ryan Gadisky and everyone just really did a great job of working together to make that trip a success. And so I was proud of our kids, how well they handled kind of the unknown situation. Again, we had that at Centralia last year when the officials didn't show up and we had to go back on Saturday, and our kids have really handled that kind of thing, and that's such a good life lesson that life things don't always happen as you plan them, but you still got to find a way to succeed regardless, and our kids have done that, and I'm proud of them for it.
So now this week you end that string that seems like you have every other year, 4 out of your first 5 games on the road. You go to Mount Vernon, then it's a different situation now. You're going to a new stadium for the first time. They've got a new school and a new stadium there. So you're going there, but you're playing a team that's struggled so far. They're 0-4, and they've only had 1 competitive game. They lost 1 game in overtime. And it's a game where you have a tough one against Cahokia. Coming up next week, you have Althoff down here. It's a game where it's easy to kind of fall into what they call that classic trap game. What do the Wildcats do to make sure that doesn't happen and be prepared to take on Mount Vernon head on?
Well, we talk about it a lot. One of the things that we talk about is we don't want this to be a trap game. You know, we mentioned that the first day, we mentioned it again today, and we'll mention it every day until we have a motto, a sign that hangs in our locker room that says it's not who you play, it's how you play. And we try to remind the guys every day to not to play to the level of your opponent. I mean, it's great to play up against good people, but you don't want to play down to teams that are struggling, because the moment you underestimate anybody in our sport, you're going to find yourself in trouble. And you know, Mount Vernon has has this ability, even though their record's not always great the last few years as they've gone through some changes, they have been able to find a way to compete. And I look at the Woodstock game this year where they went to double overtime and lost. I look at a couple of years ago on our field, just a few years ago on our field, I think they either had one win or they might have been winless. And we had to hold them out late, far in at the west end zone to win the game. I think we were sitting at maybe 3-1 at the time. So history tells me we can't take this lightly regardless of the record. We've got to play at a high level with a high motor. We've got to make sure our preparation is the same as it is against anybody else. We'll take it very seriously. We'll remind the kids to take it seriously. And I think our kids will. I think they'll be hungry to play. I think they'll be excited to play. And we keep telling them one game at a time. This gives us a chance to move up another rung on the ladder, be 2-0 in the conference. And, you know, we don't want to lose what we gained with a victory over Cahokia. You know, a loss to Mount Vernon would take away what that game meant to us. So we'll be ready. We'll be focused.
And you look back to just 2 years ago, the last time you went to Mount Vernon, you were a prohibitive favorite in that game and struggled to have, I think, a 2-point lead at halftime because they were right there. And one of your touchdowns was kind of a crazy play with a deflection that was caught in the end zone. So you could have been actually losing that game at halftime.
Got a great memory. You remember some details. I remember that now. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I knew the last time we played there was a close game. They went to a power I formation and they tried to slow the game down or speed the game up and slow us down, and they really hammered the ball at us and had some success and had us on the ropes at half. Now, we had a really good third quarter in that ball game to break that game open. But you're right. I mean, that game was in jeopardy from the beginning. I mean, we came out and they came out hard, and Mount Vernon normally plays us very tough, especially at third place.
Traditionally, Mount Vernon has been a running team. They like to put the ball on the ground. The last few years, they've had the capability, and I listened actually to a little bit of the Woodstock game. They rallied in that game behind the pass, so they do have the capability of throwing the ball. So you have to be kind of balanced defensively.
They do, and they threw for over 200 yards against Althoff last week, and they've got a quarterback and some receivers that are doing some nice things offensively. They've got a very diversified offense with a combo of spread and run. So, yeah, we got to be ready.
Last point about the Mount Vernon game, again, it's that fourth road game in 5 weeks, and testament to the fans last week. You had your fans outnumbered Cahokia's fans, so the Wildcat fans are traveling well with you, so that's a good thing.
They always travel well. They're always vocal, and we appreciate the support we get at home games. We appreciate the support we get on the road, and the words of encouragement that come from our fans that can't make it. And you know, we appreciate all the support we can get. We look forward to a good crowd at Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon and Marion Friday night at Mount Vernon at the new high school. That's Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.